I was just 22 when I gave up my college dreams to help my dad with his struggling furniture store. 10 years of blood, sweat, and tears later, I had transformed our family business into $1 million company. My reward being handed just 10%, while my sister, who had never worked a day in the store, got 60%. The worst part wasn't losing my inheritance. It was realizing the person I trusted most had never valued my sacrifice at all. If you have ever felt betrayed by someone you loved, I invite you to share where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe, as I reveal how this painful betrayal eventually led me to something far better than what was taken from me. Growing up in a blue-collar neighborhood in Portland, I learned the value of hard work from watching my father, Thomas Morgan. Dad was a skilled carpenter who started a small furniture store when I was a teenager. He was a tough man, rarely showing affection, but I always knew he cared by the way he provided for our family after Mom died from breast cancer when I was 15. While my younger sister, Stephanie, was clearly his favorite, receiving warmth and praise I never got, I still wanted nothing more than to make him proud. I worked weekends at the store throughout high school, learning the business from the ground up, sweeping floors, helping with deliveries, and eventually assisting customers. When I got accepted to the state university to study business, Dad seemed genuinely proud. "Education is something no one can take from you, Robin," he told me, one of the rare moments of approval I treasured. College opened my eyes to a whole new world. I made friends, joined clubs, and even started dating Amanda, a psychology major, with dreams of becoming a therapist. For the first time, I was crafting an identity separate from the family business and my role as the responsible son. Amanda and I even talked about traveling abroad after graduation, something I had always dreamed about but never thought possible. Everything changed during my junior year when Dad suffered a heart attack. It was not severe enough to be life-threatening, but it scared him, and frankly, it terrified me too. During my weekly visits home, I noticed the store was struggling. Bills were piling up, inventory was declining, and Dad looked exhausted despite his claims that everything was fine. One evening after closing, he finally admitted the truth. "Robin, the business is in trouble. I cannot keep up like I used to, and these new big box stores are killing us. I might have to sell everything and find something else." The defeat in his voice broke my heart. This store was more than a business to him. It represented his life work, his identity, and the legacy he hoped to build after a lifetime of struggling. "What if I came back to help?" I suggested, surprising even myself. "Just temporarily until things stabilize." The relief on his face was immediate. "You would do that for me, son?" "Of course, Dad. Family comes first." That night, he said words I would remember for years to come. "Robin, one day all of this will be yours. I promise you that. This sacrifice will not go unrewarded." The decision was not easy. Amanda was devastated when I told her I needed to take a break from school. "This is exactly what your dad always does," she said. "He pulls you back just when you are finding your own way." Maybe she was right, but I could not turn my back on my family. We agreed to try long distance, but within 3 months, our relationship had fizzled out, another casualty of my commitment to Morgan Furniture. Those first months working full-time in the store were brutal. Dad was a demanding boss, criticizing everything from my sales technique to how I arranged displays. Nothing I did seemed good enough. Meanwhile, Stephanie had moved to Seattle to pursue a fashion design career, calling occasionally but rarely visiting. Dad never criticized her absence the way he scrutinized my every move in the store. "You need to learn every aspect of this business from the ground up," he would say whenever I suggested changes. "You cannot rush experience." I swallowed my frustration and focused on learning. I studied our competitors, analyzed our pricing structure, and started updating our ancient inventory system. After a particularly harsh criticism about a display I had rearranged, I stayed up all night creating a detailed business improvement plan, complete with market analysis and projections. When I presented it to Dad the next morning, he flipped through it silently, his expression unreadable. "This is not how we do things here," he finally said. "But I suppose we can try some of these ideas. Just remember whose name is on the building." It was not exactly approval, but it was enough to fuel my determination. I would prove to him that his business could not just survive, but thrive in the modern market. And perhaps finally, I would earn the recognition I had craved my entire life. The next few years were a blur of 18-hour days and 7-day weeks. While my former classmates were graduating and starting careers with reasonable hours and benefits, I was pouring every ounce of energy into revitalizing Morgan Furniture. My first major initiative was creating an online presence. Dad scoffed at the idea initially. "People do not buy furniture without sitting on it first," he insisted. "They do now," I countered, showing him statistics about online furniture sales. "And if we do not adapt, we will get left behind." After weeks of debate, he reluctantly agreed to let me build a website, but refused to invest much in it. So I taught myself web design at night, photographed our inventory on weekends, and launched a basic online store that looked far more professional than our budget suggested. To my delight, and Dad's surprise, online orders started trickling in almost immediately. Customers from neighboring states were willing to pay premium prices for the high-quality craftsmanship that had always been our strength. This early success gave me leverage to push for more changes. I convinced Dad to focus on higher-end custom pieces rather than trying to compete with mass-market retailers on price. "We cannot beat their prices, but we can offer quality and customization they cannot match," I explained. I spent months networking with interior designers, architects, and contractors, building relationships that brought in commercial orders. I researched sustainable wood suppliers and artisanal finishing techniques that allowed us to market ourselves as an eco-friendly luxury brand. By year 5, our revenue had quintupled. We had expanded from 3 employees to 15, moved to a larger showroom, and developed a reputation as the premier custom furniture provider in the Pacific Northwest. Morgan Luxury Furniture, as we were now called, had waiting lists for our most popular pieces. Dad gradually stepped back from day-to-day operations, though he still came in to work with special clients and oversee the workshop. He never directly acknowledged my role in our transformation, but occasionally I would catch him watching me close a difficult sale or solve a production issue with a hint of what might have been pride in his eyes. My personal life, however, remained virtually non-existent. I had briefly dated Jessica, a customer who pursued me aggressively after I helped design her home office. The relationship fizzled when she realized my idea of a date night was takeout at the store while I worked on quarterly projections. Later there was Lauren, a supplier representative who understood the demands of the business. We lasted almost a year before she accepted a job across the country. "You are married to this store, Robin," she said when we broke up. "There is no room for anyone else." She was right, of course. The business consumed me. I missed family holidays when large orders needed completion, skipped friends' weddings during busy seasons, and forgot what it felt like to take a vacation. Every sacrifice seemed worthwhile, though knowing I was building something that would eventually be mine. Then Sophie walked into our showroom. She was an interior designer, looking for pieces for a high-profile client, and she was unimpressed with our initial offerings. "These are beautiful, but I need something that makes a statement," she said, challenging me to show her more. I spent 3 hours with her that day sketching custom designs and discussing possibilities until we developed a concept that excited us both. She got her client on board, and that project led to many more collaborations. Sophie became a regular presence at the store, sometimes stopping by just to share ideas or show me design magazines featuring trends she thought we could incorporate. She understood my passion for the business in a way no one else ever had, and she never complained about my ridiculous hours because she often kept the same schedule herself. Our professional relationship evolved naturally into a personal one. Sophie sometimes helped at the store during busy periods, offering design advice to customers or rearranging displays with her impeccable eye. She never asked for payment, saying she enjoyed being part of what we were building. Meanwhile, Dad had fully recovered his health, but continued to reduce his involvement in daily operations. He rarely praised my work directly, but I noticed he had stopped criticizing as well and had begun referring major clients to me rather than handling them himself. By our 10th year, Morgan Luxury Furniture had become a multi-million-dollar enterprise with clients throughout the country and features in prestigious design magazines. We were discussing opening a second location, and I had begun researching commercial space in Seattle, thinking it might give me an opportunity to be closer to Stephanie as well. "Maybe it is time we discuss the future of the company more formally," Dad said one evening as we locked up. "There are some decisions to be made about ownership structure moving forward." My heart leapt. After a decade of sacrifice, it seemed the moment I had been waiting for had finally arrived. I was ready to discuss the transition plan for taking over completely, perhaps offering Dad a generous retirement package while he maintained some emeritus role in the company. "Let us have a family meeting this weekend," he continued. "I will ask Stephanie to come home for it. This involves her too." Though puzzled by Stephanie's inclusion in business discussions, I was too excited about the future to question it. After 10 years of pouring my life into this company, I was finally about to see my inheritance formalized. Everything I had sacrificed was about to pay off. The family meeting was scheduled for Sunday afternoon at Dad's house. I arrived early, bringing financial reports and expansion plans to discuss our future strategy. I was surprised to see Stephanie's car already in the driveway, as my sister was notorious for being fashionably late to everything. Inside, I found Stephanie and a man I had never met sitting comfortably in the living room with Dad, all three laughing like old friends. Rob and Stephanie jumped up to hug me. "Meet Michael, my husband." I blinked in surprise. "Husband? When did this happen?" "Just last month," she gushed. "Small ceremony in Hawaii. We wanted to keep it intimate, so intimate that her only brother was not invited." I pushed down the hurt and shook Michael's hand. He was a polished-looking finance guy with an expensive watch and practiced smile. "Michael works in corporate acquisitions," Dad explained, clapping him on the shoulder with the easy affection he never showed me. "He has been giving me excellent advice about the business." An uneasy feeling settled in my stomach. "What kind of advice?" "All in good time," Dad said, gesturing for me to sit. "First, I want to announce that I have decided to step back from the company completely. It is time for me to enjoy retirement." "That makes sense," I said, relieved we were getting to business. "I have already been handling most operations for years. We can discuss the official transfer of ownership and whether you want to maintain any advisory role." Dad exchanged glances with Stephanie and Michael. "Actually, I have been doing a lot of thinking about the future of Morgan Luxury Furniture. With Stephanie now married and thinking about starting a family, I need to ensure everyone is taken care of properly." My sister smiled sweetly. "Dad has been so thoughtful about everything." That is why Dad continued. "I have decided on a new ownership structure. I will retain 30% of the company for my retirement income. Stephanie will receive 60% to secure her future." The room seemed to tilt sideways. "And the remaining 10%, I asked, though I already knew the answer. "That will go to you, Robin. Along with your current salary and position, of course. 10%. After 10 years of rebuilding this company from near failure to a multi-million-dollar success, I was being offered a minority stake that gave me essentially no control. "There must be some mistake," I said, my voice surprisingly steady despite the earthquake happening inside me. "I have given this company everything for the past decade. I built it into what it is today based on your promise that it would be mine." Dad frowned. "You have been well compensated with a good salary all these years. This arrangement is about securing the family legacy." "And what about my role going forward?" I asked. Michael leaned forward with his corporate smile. "I will be stepping in as CEO, but we definitely want you to stay on in a senior management capacity. Your experience is valuable, The betrayal was so complete it left me breathless. Not only was I being denied ownership of the company I had built, but I was now expected to report to my brother-in-law, who had zero experience in our industry. "This is not right," I said, looking directly at Dad. "You promised me. You said, 'One day, all of this will be yours.' Those were your exact words. Do not be ungrateful." Robin Dad snapped, his tone hardening. "Without my foundation, there would be no company for you to help with. Stephanie needs this security more than you do. You know how to make money now. You can take care of yourself." Stephanie reached over to pat my hand condescendingly. "We all know how hard you have worked, Robin. No one is taking that away from you. But this is what is best for the family as a whole." I stood up, unable to bear her false sympathy. "This is not about family. This is about you taking what I built without lifting a finger to help. You have not even visited the store in years." "Watch your tone," Dad warned. "Your sister has always been supportive from afar. And now she and Michael will bring fresh perspectives to the business." "Fresh perspectives?" I laughed bitterly. "You mean they will enjoy the fruits of my decade of 70-hour weeks while I continue doing the actual work? If you cannot appreciate the opportunity being offered, perhaps you should reconsider your position with the company entirely," Michael suggested smoothly. I looked at each of their faces, searching for any sign of recognition of the magnitude of this betrayal. Finding none, I walked out without another word. Sophie found me sitting in my car outside the house, too angry and devastated to drive. After hearing what happened, she held my hand tightly. "They cannot do this to you," she said fiercely. "Not after everything you have sacrificed." "Apparently they can," I replied. "His name is still on all the paperwork. Legally, he can do whatever he wants." Sophie's eyes narrowed with determination. "Then we need to figure out what you are legally entitled to. This is not just about a promise anymore, Robin. This is about your life's work." That night, as the initial shock gave way to a deep sense of betrayal, I realized Sophie was right. This was not just about a broken promise or hurt feelings. This was about my future, my dignity, and everything I had built. I had been operating all these years as if I was working for myself, when in reality, I had been nothing more than an exceptionally dedicated employee. The pain cut deep, but somewhere beneath it, a new emotion was beginning to form resolve. I had built one successful business from near nothing. Perhaps it was time to see what I could build when I was truly working for myself. The next morning, I called Andrew Peterson, a lawyer who specialized in family business disputes. After explaining my situation, he confirmed what I suspected. "Without written documentation of the ownership promise, challenging the distribution will be difficult," he explained. "However, there is something called sweat equity that might apply here. You have clearly added tremendous value to the business." Andrew advised me to gather evidence of my contributions, email correspondence, financial records, showing growth under my leadership, client testimonials, anything that demonstrated my role in the company's success. For the next week, I maintained a professional demeanor at work while methodically documenting everything. I discovered that many decisions had been made with just verbal approval, but I did have numerous emails where Dad had deferred to my judgment or acknowledged my initiatives had driven growth. I also found the business plan I had created in those early days with Dad's handwritten notes in the margins. On the final page, he had written "good ideas." "When you take over someday, these changes will be your legacy." Armed with this documentation, I had Andrew draft a formal letter requesting a reconsideration of the ownership structure based on my documented contributions and verbal agreements. The letter was respectful but firm, suggesting we find a compromise that recognized my decade of work. Dad's response was swift and furious. He stormed into my office, letter in hand. "You are threatening legal action against your own family. After everything I have done for you, I am asking for what was promised to me." I replied calmly, "What I earned through years of sacrifice. You ungrateful." He sputtered. "I gave you opportunities, training, a career, and this is how you repay me." Michael and Stephanie were quick to follow up with their own pressure. "If you pursue this, you will be forcing us to reconsider your position in the company entirely," Michael warned during a tense meeting. Stephanie was more emotional. "How could you do this to Dad after his heart problems? Do you want him to have another attack?" Their unified front was formidable, but I was no longer the eager-to-please son desperate for approval. "I built this company into what it is today," I told them. "I am simply asking for fair recognition of that fact." As tensions escalated, I noticed something unexpected. Longtime employees began stopping by my office to offer support. Several mentioned they would follow me if I ever left the company. Our largest suppliers, with whom I had built personal relationships over years, expressed concern about the management changes. Victor Ramirez, our most important lumber supplier, called me directly. "Robin, I heard rumors about changes at Morgan. I want you to know that our special pricing and priority delivery has always been because of our relationship with you. If circumstances change." He did not need to finish the sentence. His meaning was clear. Sophie, who had been my rock throughout this ordeal, came to me with an idea one evening, as we discussed my limited options. "What if," she said, slowly, "instead of fighting for a company that does not value you, you start your own?" The idea was both terrifying and exhilarating. Start over from scratch. After 10 years, Sophie smiled. "Not from scratch. You have knowledge, experience, relationships, and a reputation now. Things you did not have 10 years ago." She was right. While Dad owned the Morgan name and physical assets, he could not take away the relationships I had built or my industry knowledge. With Sophie's design expertise and my operational experience, we could create something new, something truly ours. Within a month, I had resigned from Morgan Luxury Furniture and started Integrity Home Designs with Sophie as my partner. We leased a small showroom, nothing like Morgan's impressive space, but it was ours. Our business model emphasized ethical sourcing, craftsman partnerships, and transparent pricing. To my amazement, 4 of Morgan's best employees resigned to join us. William, our master craftsman, explained it simply: "I want to work somewhere that values loyalty and recognizes contribution." Even more surprisingly, customers followed. Many of our high-end clients had been working directly with me for years and trusted my judgment. They were willing to wait longer and sometimes pay more to continue that relationship. The greatest vindication came when Victor Ramirez and 2 other major suppliers offered us the same preferential terms they had given Morgan. "We invest in people we trust, not just company names," Victor told me. Meanwhile, Morgan Luxury Furniture was struggling under new leadership. Michael's corporate approach alienated the remaining craftsmen, and Stephanie's sporadic involvement created confusion about the company's direction. Without my client relationships and supplier management, delivery times lengthened and quality became inconsistent. Within 6 months, our small company was turning a profit. Within a year, we had outgrown our original space and moved to a larger showroom. We did not have Morgan's name recognition yet, but we were building something valuable, something based on principles I truly believed in. Most importantly, I was building something that was truly mine. 2 years after starting Integrity Home Designs, I found myself in a position I could scarcely have imagined during those dark days of betrayal. Our company had not only survived, but thrived, growing to 20 employees and a reputation for exceptional quality and service. Sophie and I had gotten engaged, planning a wedding that would finally give us time to celebrate our personal happiness alongside our professional success. The greatest surprise came on an ordinary Tuesday afternoon when my father walked into our showroom. I had not spoken to him since a brief tense encounter at an industry event 6 months earlier. He looked older, the lines in his face deeper than I remembered. "Your place looks good," he said after an awkward silence. "Very impressive what you have built here." "Thank you," I replied, unsure what else to say. Dad walked around examining our displays with a craftsman's eye. Quality work, he commented. You found good people. We did. People who share our values. He nodded slowly. Morgan is struggling, he admitted finally. Michael and Stephanie, they do not understand the business the way you do. They are talking about selling. I waited, sensing there was more he wanted to say. I was wrong, Robin. The words seemed to physically pain him. What I did was not fair to you after everything you put into the company. I let my old-fashioned notions about providing for Stephanie cloud my judgment. Part of me had longed to hear this acknowledgement for years, but now that it had come, I felt strangely calm. I appreciate you saying that, Dad. Would you? He hesitated. Would you consider coming back? We could renegotiate everything, make it right. The offer was momentarily tempting, a validation of everything I had fought for. But looking around at the business Sophie and I had built, I knew my answer. I cannot do that, Dad. This is where I belong now. But I would like it if we could start rebuilding our relationship as father and son, separate from business. Relief washed over his face. I would like that too. In the months that followed, Dad and I began the slow process of repairing our relationship. He occasionally offered business advice when asked, but mostly we talked about other things, rebuilding a connection that had been lost in years of being just boss and employee. I heard through industry channels that Morgan Luxury Furniture was indeed sold, though not to a large corporation, as Michael had planned. Instead, a consortium of employees had pooled resources to buy it, led by some of the craftsmen who had been there since the beginning. They kept the Morgan name, but returned to the quality-focused approach that had been our foundation. I could have felt vindicated by their struggles, or smug about my success, but those emotions no longer served me. Instead, I channeled my energy into building something meaningful. We started an apprenticeship program for disadvantaged youth, teaching them craftsmanship and business skills that could provide lifetime careers. When people ask me if I regret those 10 years at Morgan, I tell them no. Every experience, even painful betrayal, shaped who I am today. I built something successful once before, which gave me the confidence to build something even better the second time around. And this time I built it on my terms, with a partner who values me completely. Sometimes the most painful losses clear the path for our greatest gains. When my inheritance was taken away, I discovered I had already inherited everything I truly needed: skills, determination, and the capacity to create my own legacy. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that ultimately led you to something better, or found yourself building something new after a painful loss? Share your story in the comments below. I truly believe our shared experiences can help others find their way through difficult times. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more real-life journeys of overcoming obstacles. Thank you for listening, and remember, sometimes when life closes a door, it is not ending your journey. It is redirecting you to the path you were meant to find all along.